All right. I believe we're live. I apologize for being late. I had some technical difficulties and I had to actually refresh the page because it was not, I was clicking the button to go live and it just wasn't doing anything. So, yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome. If you're new to my channel, my name is Skye. I'm a fantasy author who typically writes paranormal romance under the name SD Higgis. And today we're going to be talking about the book, The 12-Week Year. This is by Professor, of course, I forgot his name, Trevor Hall. That doesn't sound right. Hold on. Thrall. Trevor Thrall. Yes, A. Trevor Thrall, PhD. And it was based on the concept of the 12-Week Year by Brian Moran and Michael Lennington. Of course, I can't think of people's names today for some reason. I don't know why. Give me a second. I should have had this pulled up. It would have made it so much easier. Yeah, Brian Moran, Michael Lennington, but this one is by A. Trevor Thrall, PhD. Okay, let me double check the YouTube real quick and make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to be, and then we'll go from there. Yes, okay, cool. I had to double check with headphones because that's where I have sound coming out. Tell me how you really feel. You can do. Calm down. So, anyways, we're going to be talking about the 12-week year for writers. I'm going to go ahead and preface this by saying that I probably should not have read it. Hi, can you not? I probably should not have read it so soon after finishing the original 12-week year because it felt like a lot of things between the two books were very similar. So, we'll start with that thought, and I'm going to go say hi to everyone in the comments section, and then we'll continue the discussion from there. And I will also announce the book for February before we end this stream. So, me click over. Stephanie is here, leaving this so I hopefully don't miss it. Oh, well, I hope you are in the comments. Everyone who is on the East Coast and dealing with winter storms right now, I hope everyone is staying safe, staying warm, and I understand that not everyone's going to be showing up who might normally show up for those reasons. I've understood from a couple people already so far that there's been power outages, that there has been internet outages, so no surprise if you can't show up, and I just hope that everyone is staying safe and warm during the winter storms. Because you guys are getting weather that I'm actually already used to here in Montana, but y'all are not. So fun stuff. Eva's here. Hello, hello. Stephanie also popped in to say hi to Eva. Miranda's Cauldron. That's you go by Rita, right? I believe that's correct. Welcome, welcome. And Jess is also here. Hello, everyone. If you have happened to have read this book before, I pulled up the other books, but I did not pull up this one for some reason because I am not smart. Hold on just a hot second. 12-week year. And I can't type now, apparently. So, 12-week year for writers. Holy schmackerels, it is expensive. Sorry for the camera shaking. I moved my camera onto my desk, and it is very apparent. Okay, so this is the book we're talking about today. Let me make this image bigger. Let's click this. There we go. There we go. And so, as I was saying, it is very similar to the 12-week year original. Stephanie says, hey, I'm here while my Wi-Fi holds steady, but I'm going to be off and on today. That is perfectly fine and completely understandable. Just stay safe. That's all I ask. So, I was prepared for this, but things have happened today and made me less prepared. And then I had some technical issues, so that made me less prepared. I did not enjoy reading this one, but I absolutely 100% believe it is because of the fact that I just read the original 12-week year a couple months ago. And the concept of both books is exactly the same. Like, it doesn't lie and say it's not going to be the same. It says that it's just gearing this towards writers, and that's legit. All they were trying to do was take the 12-week year system and gear it directly towards writers, and that's absolutely exactly what they did. So there was a lot of overlap in the information that was told in 12-week year for writers. The only difference was the way it was worded, basically. Um, so if you have read the 12-week year, or you have read the 12-week year for writers, it's pretty much got the same information. I did like the fact that in the 12-week year for writers, there are definitely more charts and more examples that make it clearer to writers how you can use the 12-week year. That is definitely a bonus. It's also one of those that in a couple of months, I'm probably going to give myself some time away from it. And I would like to actually go back through and reread it, because I feel like on a reread, I will get a lot more information out of it, especially if I have time to step away from both 12-week year and 12-week year for writers. And I don't remember a lot of what I learned unless I take notes, which I did not do this time. So hopefully I will forget some of the information and be able to relearn it and soak it in better, basically. That is the hope, at least. Because it's so similar to the 12-week year, I'm not quite certain exactly how much I can actually say about this. So if you do have any specific questions of what you would like to know about 12-week year for writers, feel free to drop those in the comments. Because of the fact that they are so similar, I don't have a lot of notes. Let me look at my notebook real quick, see which notes I took. Mostly it was me commenting as a reader instead of taking actual notes about different things comments that I saw that I was like, 100% agree kind of thing. Like the first one I remember highlighting was the fact that it was like, writing is hard. I'm like, yes, it is, absolutely. And anyone who tells you it isn't, yeah. Like I said, I had planned on what I wanted to talk about, and then I completely forgot about it. It is out the brain. What I will say about this is that I do like the fact that with 12-week year for writers, it broke down a specific writing plan. It does what I had already been starting to do on my own before reading this and realizing that I was doing kind of sort of what it wanted us to do. The main thing it wanted you to focus on was figuring out your timeline of like how long it's going to take you to do a larger task and breaking it down into smaller bite-sized pieces. And what I mean by that is like it talked about the fact that you want to write a book, or let's go broader, you want to write a series. And so you need to break that down. How many books are going to be in your series? Let's just pretend you're going to write a trilogy. Then you got to break it down to, okay, got to write each book. So you got 3 different books now. What do you need to do to write that first book and break that down into bite-sized tasks? It was very much a resource talking about taking a large goal and breaking it down, working backwards, and seeing how you can put that into tasks that you can do on a daily basis until you hit your final goal. It did. The one thing I both noticed and didn't notice, it was one of those things that was kind of in the undertones of the writing when he was talking about his own projects, the things that he was thinking about, but it wasn't more advice on how like you should do it as a person, in the fact that he knew roughly how long it was going to take him to do various tasks already. And what I mean by that is like he knew what he was going to break his steps down into, because he knew how long each of those steps would already take him on a good day. And the one thing that I think most people need to do when they're going to do any kind of system and they're going to take a large goal and break it down into smaller bite-sized goals is you need to know how long it takes you to do all of these tasks. For me, I actually overestimate how long it's going to take me to do certain things because I want to make sure I give myself plenty of time to do everything I want to do. So I know I've talked about this in some of my goals videos that I've done recently when I talked about this poster board that's beside me, because this is basically what I'm using for my own 12-week year. And that's the fact that I knew when I wanted to publish certain projects, and I started working backwards from there. When do I need to have it formatted? When do I need to have it uploaded? When do I need to have keywords and categories researched? How long is it going to take me to do each of those tasks? Like, it's not going to take me long to format a book, but it is going to take me a while to research keywords and categories. It's going to take me a while to set up the front matter and back matter, because while most of it is the same between all of my books, some of it is different because some books need different information than other books. So it's a matter of knowing how long it's going to take you to do different tasks to make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself when you start implementing those tasks into your 12-week year. Because yes, maybe you want to write a book, but maybe if you're in a situation like I am, you're not going to be able to write that whole book in 12 weeks. Or if the case is maybe you want to publish a book, maybe that's your ultimate goal is to publish a book. You're not going to be able to write, edit, and publish that book in 12 weeks possibly. You might be able to, but it's more about knowing your strengths and how much you can get done. Yes, the 12-week year can be used as like a challenge, but it's meant to be a system to get you to accomplish things, to know how long it takes you to do tasks, to make sure you set aside time to do said tasks. It's talking about, the book also mentions making sacrifices. Maybe currently in your life, as you have it right now, you watch a lot of TV, or in my case, I haven't been, but I play a lot of games every once in a while. So it's more about where can you make cuts in your time. Maybe you discovered that you spend an hour scrolling on your phone every day watching videos pointlessly. Who knows? That's completely on you. And what the 12-week year system wants you to do is look at all those pockets of time where you basically, I don't want to say waste time, because that's not the way I interpreted it, and that's not what they said on the page. But for some people, it will feel like you're wasting time doing things because maybe you're trying to refill your well, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, actually, if the way you refill your well is watching games or watching movies and TV or playing games, like that's perfectly fine. But it talks about limiting how much time you're spending doing all these things. If you normally play video games for 5 hours a day, maybe cut it back to 3 hours a day. Give yourself 2 whole hours to write, kind of thing. That's what I mean about that. It's not that you're wasting time, it's that you need to designate specific time to doing specific tasks. That is one of the things that it talks about a lot. I think was a little bit differently worded than the original 12-week year. And then again, there was lots of charts talking about his own breakdown. He used this particular book and writing this particular book to help break down how long he had to do specific tests. He included like how long it would take him to do interviews with various people to get quotes from them to use in the book. He talked about how long it would take him to write specific chapters versus other chapters, because the way he broke it down is that some chapters took longer to write and edit versus others, which was, when I think about it, it makes perfect sense. But in a logical sense, I'm like, but it's just one chapter. Chapter 1 will take this long. Chapter 2 will take this long. And so in my mind, I realized that yes, different chapters take different amounts of time to complete, no matter what stage they're in. But seeing it on page is a different story altogether. Yeah, I realize that the 12-week year for writers is expensive. I think the ebook is $16. I think that's what it said. Hold on. Now I'm going to close out of this picture so we can look at what it costs. Yeah, $16 for Kindle. And then the one thing, I am a paperback girly. I do not like the fact that they don't have a paperback for the 12-week year for writers. They do have a hardback because I think it is in some circles considered a textbook, which I guess makes sense. So they do have it for hardback. Can you, let's see. Why does it have a price range? That's strange. So brand new for the hardback is basically $24, which is expensive. Don't get me wrong. And I do not suggest buying this book, especially if you already have the 12-week year. If you already have the 12-week year, it's the same information. It's just broken down in a different way. Both books are expensive. Don't get me wrong. I think the 12-week year is a little less expensive. And the 12-week year, the reason I wanted to do that one for the Craft Symposium is because they had just released the paperback version the same month I purchased it and did our Craft Symposium discussion. So, fun facts. Maybe eventually we'll get a paperback version of the 12-week year for writers. If they do, I probably will get a copy, maybe. The one advantage the 12-week year has over the 12-week year for writers is the fact that there is a website you can go to for the 12-week year, and they have all of these downloads that have like samples, and they have all the charts that you can just print out and fill out, and discussions like that. So that is one of the things that I think has an advantage of the 12-week year over the 12-week year for writers. Is there information in the 12-week year for writers that I think is beneficial? Yes, absolutely. However, in the long run, I think you can get just as much out of the 12-week year, the original version, versus the 12-week year for writers. They're very much the same information, just specified for writers, unfortunately. So, is there any questions anyone has they were specifically looking for answers to as far as the 12-week year for writers goes? What I will say is, for anyone who wasn't here for the 12-week year discussion, is that the idea is to take no more than 3 goals, 3 large goals, and break them down into tasks that you can accomplish within 12 weeks. Some weeks are like one-off. You only have to do them once and they're done. Some you have to repeat daily. Some you have to repeat weekly or bi-weekly. And the idea is that you create these goals, you create these tasks, you do weekly check-ins both with yourself and with a group of people. I have actually started a Discord. It was originally on Instagram, but at one point there was like 4 different conversations going in that Instagram, and I was getting lost and confused. So I ended up creating a Discord. I do not think there's a link to that in the description. There might be, for anyone who wants to join us on that. No, of course. Why would I put that there? That would make way too much sense. I will make sure I put that in there after this discussion is done. But the so sorry. There's the weekly check-in with whichever group of people, and if the idea is to plan a date to meet up and have a discussion, and in the discussion you're supposed to be talking about what your goals are, if you're going the first week, what your goals are moving forward, and then some tactics that you can do in order to make sure you accomplish those goals. Some basically some, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, my mind just went blank. Tactics is the word I'm looking for, but there's another word I wanted to use instead, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. And then any meeting going forward, you discuss what you accomplished from the week prior. You discuss your goals moving forward, and you also discuss any tips or tricks that might help you accomplish any task that you did not accomplish the first time around. And in my head, the first couple of weeks are going to be like any time you're trying to start a new habit, in the fact that they are going to be a little rough. That's always been my experience, no matter what system I'm trying to use, whether it's been the 12-week year for writers or the HB90 plan or the level 10 life. No matter what system I have tried in the past, I have not tried level 10 system. I don't know why I said that one. First couple weeks are definitely more trial and error kind of thing. And you're trying to work out the kinks. Like in my case, my secondary goal is related to YouTube and filming and editing videos. And that always takes more time than I think it will. So I keep overloading myself with YouTube tasks that I can never accomplish in a week. It's great fun. It's been fantastic. I'm also extremely tired because of it, trying to make it work. So again, it goes back to that, how much time is it going to take you to accomplish these tasks so that you can break them down and make them accomplishable within a 12-week period? Because the idea is that you can get more work if you're focused, if you're dedicated, and if you've broken these tasks, these goals down into smaller tasks. The idea is that you can accomplish more in 12 weeks than in a year, because you'll stop being like, oh, I have a full year. And then next thing you know, 11 months have gone by and you're like, oh crap, I haven't even started. So that is the main idea, is to take a goal and say, I only have 12 weeks to get this accomplished. What do I need to do this week to get closer to that goal? What about this week? All the way to 12 weeks. And breaking it down, that goal down into smaller bite-sized pieces that you can accomplish between week 1 and week 12 to get to that goal. In both books, that has been the main thing, is to make sure you give yourself goals that you can accomplish in 12 weeks. And then to do it in both. What I like in the 12-week year for writers over the 12-week year, in 12-week year, it mentions having a 13th week in order to basically start over again. And no matter what system I'm doing, I've always tried to start thinking about my next goals before the first ones have been complete. Maybe that's a problem, maybe it's not. But in the 12-week year for writers, it actually did not talk about that. It talked about the fact that you should, when you get to the end of your 12-week goals, basically the last check-in is you refreshing the idea of what you had originally planned. And then you should already have an idea of what you want to do for the next 12 weeks based on what you accomplished in the prior 12 weeks, especially where books are concerned. Because maybe your goal for the first 12 weeks was, I want to write this book. I want to write this many words for this book. And then the end of the 12 weeks comes by, maybe you've accomplished that, maybe you haven't. And the next 12-week goal is basically a continuation of the first week goals. So as an example, maybe you wanted to write 50,000 words to what you hope or think will be a 100,000 word fantasy novel. By the time you get to the end of the first 12 weeks, maybe you have reached that 50,000 word goal, maybe you haven't, but you already know that your next goal will be to hit that next milestone. So if you are writing a 100,000 word fantasy, you already know at that end of the first 12-week year, your goal is to write the other 50,000. And if you haven't written the first 50,000, you adjust accordingly, because maybe that first 12-week year you discovered, this is too much, I need to pare down. And then you use whatever you've done within your first 12-week year to plan for your second 12-week year. And that is the idea of how to use it as far as writing goes. And I like the fact that he said each year built upon the previous one, and you just continue moving forward with that original goal, no matter what it was. The other thing I liked is that in the 12-week year for writers, he was mainly focusing, he said that, yes, you can have up to 3 goals, as far as like the 12-week year, the original version says you should have 3 goals. And what I liked about the 12-week year for writers is that it was like, focus on one goal at a time. When you hit the point where you're accomplishing your tasks for the 12-week year and you're staying on par and you've gotten to that point where you know you can accomplish these things, it's no longer challenging to reach these mile points, then you can start adding in other goals. And they did take into account that things happen. People with kids, people with jobs, people who with other responsibilities that are unrelated. But one of the things that both books point out is that when you are making your goals and you're making your tasks that break down from those goals, you should already have in mind some of these things. Whoop, I guess my family's home. You should already have in mind some of these things that you need to work around and you need to plan around in both books. I did like the way it was laid out in the 12-week year for writers better, but in both books they mention having like some kind of chart or calendar that talked about what your ideal week is. Like, like in my case, I know I work Monday night to Saturday morning because I work nights. So I know that during that chunk of time, I can't devote anything to writing. I do during my lunch break. That's beside the point. In an ideal world, most people who have a 9 to 5, whatever your job is, mine is not a 9 to 5. Actually, it is. It's a 9 to 5, p.m. to a.m. Not the point. But anyone with like other responsibilities, like I've got to take my kid to archery on Wednesdays. Hello, goodbye.
Hello, goodbye.
And stuff like that. So these are things that you have to take into account. I'm gonna stop sharing this. So I didn't see any comments nope, there's been no comments. Okay. So I'm guessing there is no, let's see. I'm gonna refresh this page, make sure I'm not missing comments. No, okay, cool. But yeah, it wants you to plan your ideal week first and then go from there and be able to fit in kind of tasks that you know you need to accomplish throughout the week based on what you need to accomplish, basically. That was a weird way of wording that. I apologize.
It was big though.
Okay. I'm on a live stream right now. What'd you do to that can? That poor can.
It was leaking.
Oh, exploded.
Oh, that was big. I just crushed it. That was big though. That's what would happen to it. It crushed into it, so.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah, 50% off.
It was the only box that was there, so we ended up getting 50% off on it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's close.
Bye-bye. I'm not doing a sprinting live stream. I'm doing a chatting live stream now. Bye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You are interrupting me.
Boo-hoo.
Love you.
Love you.
I'll be off soon. Like 30 minutes soon-ish. But yeah. I can't think of anything else that I really wanted to talk about that's special to this book versus what I've already discussed in our discussion about the 12-week year, the original copy. That is not what I wanted to click on. Did I close it? I totally did. Let me double check and make sure I haven't missed anything part of my notes that I took when I was reading. Again, I do want to reread it because I think I will get more out of it the second time. Usually what I like to try to do with these craft symposiums is I try to pick books that I've already read previously so that all I'm doing is refreshing and I'm able to give you guys a good discussion on what I've discovered in the read through. I did not do that this time. This was a straight up first time read and it probably shows and I apologize for that. Let's see. How to use 12-week year, which what I will say, the one thing that irritates me about, and this is in non-fiction books in general, not just both of these books, and it was more apparent in this book because of the fact that it was so similar to the original one. In the idea of repeating examples over different examples, reworded the same way over and over again, that has always annoyed me in any nonfiction book. Again, I don't remember. I don't have a good excuse for why. Yep, nope. I think I've discussed everything that was in my notes. The one thing, the last thing I will discuss real quick is the fact that in this book, he did lay out, in one of the final chapters, he used this 12-week year system for writers to write the book. And he did lay out in that final chapter exactly what he planned every week for the 12 weeks, and whether or not he accomplished it. And he did write some notes about why something was or was not accomplished. So I did appreciate that. It was good to see an example of exactly how it was used and what it accomplished in the end. So that was a good thing to see. And I really did like that. But again, if you haven't read this and you don't want to buy it, I do not blame you at all, because it is expensive as all get out. I'm pretty certain the only reason I was able to get it is because it was on sale, because I do not remember spending $16 for it when I purchased it, which is what the ebook cost. So, all right. So I don't see any questions popping up in the discussion. I hope this was as informative, I cannot talk, as I could make it. Again, there was so much overlap with what it talked about versus what the 12-week year talked about. I will have the playlist for the craft symposium. I think it's already in. It is not. Why do I not have? I know I updated my links. I will have to update the links with a couple of different things apparently, because it's not in there. The only links I have in there is the link to this book and the link to the AuthorTube writing playlist. Okay, so I've got a few links to update in the description, unfortunately. So I will make sure I include a link to the playlist as well as a direct link to the 12-week year discussion we had. I think it was in November. That sounds right in my head. I don't know if it actually was November or if it was December. No, it was November, because I took a hiatus in December. But yeah. So for our next craft symposium, I put up a poll last week asking what everyone wanted to read. Y'all, I had 3 choices. Dear Writer, You Need to Quit by Becca, I think it's pronounced Syme. Correct me if I'm wrong. Writing Short Romance for Pleasure and Profit by Sadie B. King. And then Refuse to Be Done by Matt Bell. Those were the 3 options. There is a tie between Dear Writer, You Need to Quit and Writing Short Romance for Pleasure and Profit. So since there is a tie, for anyone who came to the discussion today, do you have a preference between those 2? Feel free to let me know real quick. Are you okay? You just at me. I heard. I got to figure out a way to break the tie. What I might do is I think I am actually going to probably roll flip a coin, and I will show that on screen. I had Amazon links open for both. Why did it automatically flip the moment I typed in flip a coin? Anyways, I had the links open for both because of the fact that they were a tie. Tamara, hello. Long time no see. The second one, so Writing Short Romance for Pleasure and Profit. Okay. Anyone else have an opinion? You might be a tiebreaker, actually. That might. Feb is a month of romance. That does make sense. Okay, you know what? We're going to go with that. So our winner is Writing Short Romance for... I had it open in the same tab as I had 12-week year open. Interesting. Can you not? Silly goose. Let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. Okay. So here's what we'll be reading for February. And we'll have, as always, our symposium will be the last Sunday of the month at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Central. Look at me doing all the math in my head. Woo! Anyways, this is actually one I have read before, and so it will be a reread. I took lots of notes the first time I read it, so this one will actually probably be a very good discussion. Plus, I'm in the middle of writing a 7 short story series at the moment, which is part 1 in a 7 series. There's 49 books total, all short stories, because I hate myself apparently. So that is the book we'll be discussing in February. Excuse me. Hi, can you Oh, I know why they're bugging me so much. It's because dinner time. It's dinner time, isn't it? Okay. So, since February is the month of romance and it's got Valentine's Day and all of that, we will be reading Writing Short Romance for Pleasure and Profit. Say that 5 times fast, by Sadie B. King. I believe this one is a lot. I already know it's a lot cheaper than gosh, why are nonfiction books so expensive? For anyone who wants to read it and join me on screen, that is more than welcome. Tamara, I love that you're here because this idea of doing these craft symposiums is completely and totally stolen from you with Writer's Workshop that you used to do. I've put my own twist on it, but I have always tried to welcome people who have read. I was really hoping that Laura Nels would be able to join me this time and then completely forgot to ask her because I'm an idiot. Because I know she's read the 12-week year for writers before. But anyways, that is going to be our book for next month. It is $7.99 for the Kindle, $14.99 for the paperback. That one actually is available in paperback for anyone who wants to read it as well and join in the discussion. Oh, excuse me. And yeah, I think that will be all for us tonight, everyone. Craft symposiums are meant to be quick discussions about the books, and unfortunately for us, or fortunately, depending on your viewpoint, the 12-week year for writers was so similar. I didn't have a lot of extra thoughts after having the discussion about the 12-week year a few months ago. So, but yeah, that is going to be all. Remember that, again, I don't have links for anything in the description. Oh, I will have to make a note to update all my update the description because until the end of this month, I have a form that is available for anyone who is interested in taking part in a writing prompt book. I am asking for samples. That's not the right word. Anyone who's interested in submitting a story to be included into a writing prompt book is welcome to do so. And I do have that link available, mostly because I already had it open for other reasons. So, writing prompt book, interest form. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Jeez. So, for anyone who's interested in submitting a short story for that, is more than welcome to take a look at that interest form, fill that out. As always, these craft symposiums will be the last Sunday of the month, which means February's will fall on the 22nd, and it'll be at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. I think that about does it. Yeah, everyone who's on the East Coast, make sure you are staying warm and you are staying safe. Honestly, no matter where you are in the world, warm and safe are good things to be, just saying. But especially those who are dealing with the current ice storms that are rolling through. I've seen quite a bit of pictures and videos where things are like, ugh. So I'm glad to see some people who I know are in those territories in the comments. I've loved having you guys here. And yeah, if you're new to my channel, my name is Skye. I'm a fantasy author who typically writes paranormal romance on an SD Haggis. And this has been this month's Craft Symposium. I hope everyone will join me next month for our next one, where we talk about the writing short romance for pleasure and profit. I almost said 12-week year for writers again. But yeah, that is going to be all for this time. And maybe next time I will not have as shaky of a camera. I've got to figure out why it's shaking so much because I honestly have no idea. It's every time I touch the table, but it shouldn't be. So, whew. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here so I can go feed the puppies before they maul me. Thank you all for joining me, everyone. And I'll see you next time I see you guys, because I post videos on Thursdays. I do vlogs on Tuesdays. I live stream on Saturdays. And then, of course, the last Sunday of the month is Craft Symposium, like this one. So thank you all for joining me. And I will see you all whenever I see you. Stay warm. Stay safe. Bye, everyone.